Now we've broken the tuck forward roll down and the gymnast can do this safely on the floor, it's time to start introducing them into some new shapes. So we're going to be looking at straddles, pikes, and we're also going to be doing this in the backward roll too. So we're going to have a look at how we can break this down and get the gymnast to stand up in these new shapes. Okay, before we get the gymnast to roll into the different shapes, we need to check their understanding so they know what shapes we're asking them for. So we're going to get the first shape we're going to look at is a tuck shape. So he's going to grab his shins, pull his knees into his chest. The next shape we're going to look at is a straddle shape. So his legs are straight, hands on the floor in front of him, ready for when he stands out of his roll. And the next shape is a pike shape with his legs together, his hands next to his knees, ready to press forwards and stand up out of his forward roll. It's important that the gymnasts understand all these different shapes because we're going to be asking them to do them later on in their roll. So what we're going to ask the gymnasts to do is stretch up tall, just as we've been teaching them in their forward roll to tuck. But this time we're going to ask the gymnasts to forward roll over and sit into a nice straddle shape with their legs straight and their toes pointed. So if we go, roll over, sitting into a nice straddle with their hands level with their knees, ready to stand up in that straddle stand. So to start off with, we're going to make it a little bit easier for the gymnast to stand up on their feet. So we're going to put them on a raised platform in a straddle shape. We're going to ask the gymnast to rock backwards with their legs straight, sit all the way up and press off the floor, standing into a nice straddle stand. So he's going to do that one more time. If you watch Luca's hands, his hands go between his legs in straddle and he's going to try and pull the floor back behind him to stand up in that straddle stand. So we're going to ask the gymnast now to put everything together. So he's going to think about doing his roll over the top into that straddle sit. His hands are going to go between his knees, pressing down on the floor so he can stand up into that straddle shape at the end. Coaches, you can get involved by grabbing the gymnast's hips and helping them up into straddle stand. So ready? Arms up, hands on the floor, push, roll over the top and press into straddle stand. Then we can step back and allow the gymnast to have a go by themselves, reaching up, rolling over, pressing the floor backwards into that straddle stand with straight legs and straight arms. So the next shape we're going to look at is a piked forward roll. So Luca's going to start with his arms up. What we're going to ask of him in a second is that he rolls over, and when he rolls over, he's going to sit into a pike and his hands are going to go down level with his knees. So if we go, bend your legs, hands on the floor, press and hands down level with his knees. So we're getting ready for that understanding of going up onto his feet. Same as the straddle, we're then going to bring the gymnast over to a small lifted area where they can rock back in a pike, sit up, press off the floor and stand up with their legs straight. If the gymnast starts getting good at this and they're finding it easy, you can start to bring the surface down lower and lower, but for this purpose, this height is fine. Rocking backwards, pressing off the knees and standing up with straight legs. Remember, when we say press, we're asking the gymnast to think about putting their hands on the floor and dragging the floor behind them as they stand up. So we're going to look at putting the whole thing together now, so the forward roll into the pike stand. So we're going to remind Luca that he has to put his hands on the floor next to his knees, his legs have to be straight, he needs to think about dragging the floor behind him and standing up in pike. Similar to with the straddle stand, I can stand next to him and support him by his hips, and then after that I can let him have a go by himself. So Luca, stretch up, hands on the floor, push and roll over, straight legs by the hips, standing up nicely. Then we can step back, allow the gymnast to have a go all by themselves, reaching up, pushing, straight legs and standing up nicely at the end. So now we've got the gymnast rolling in all three shapes, so forward roll to tuck, forward roll to straddle and forward roll to pike. It's time to start putting it together in a small sequence that they can practice in their basic lines before each session. So we're going to ask Luca to demonstrate this for us. So he's going to stand on the track, reaching up tall. He's going to do his forward roll to tuck shape. Forward roll into a nice straddle. And stand up and forward roll into pike at the end. Now these shapes are extremely important in gymnastics. All of the skills that are going to learn, they're going to go through these shapes at some point. So it's extremely important for young gymnasts. They practice this every time they come in the gym.